Hello my dear children, Namaste and welcome back to our class 10 ICSE Biology series. I'm Ambika, Master Teacher of Biology, right here at Vedantu. How are you all? How does it feel? Now I want you all to tell me how your preparations for your pre-boards are going on. I think in some of your schools, some of you have been sending me mails and messages and putting in the comment section that you have your pre-boards or whatever model exams that happen in your school are like about to start in a few days. I think for CBSE, it does start as early as November and December. And some of the ICSE children have also been sending me emails like that. So if that is the case, how would you rate yourself in terms of your degree of confidence? I want to hear back from all of you right now in the chat box. Those who are watching the premiere with me right now in the chat box, the rest of you put your comments in the comment section below. And if you have anything more to tell me, do feel free to send me an email. Okay. And again, just in case there is anything specific, any specific chapter that you want me to take up right after we finish this one, the current chapter, do send me an email or do put it in the comment section. But of course, one thing that I want to tell you is that I may not be able to cater to every student's need because somebody might want a class on chemical coordination or the endocrine system. Somebody would want it on reproductive system. Somebody would want it on transpiration or photosynthesis. So it's not possible to do everything, of course, for obvious reasons. So let's just look at the majority. And for the same reason, I decided to start off with human physiology because many of you, in fact, a good majority of you asked me to start with human physiology because you told me that I could take up the next chapters later on. You wanted a little more focus on these, right? So I completely understand that. So only if I hear from you, only with your active participation, I would be able to make a decision on this, right? So today we will be starting off with the second chapter of the human physiology unit, which is the excretory system. We are already done with the chapter circulatory system. We have seen the major topics on that, and we have also discussed many important questions from circulatory system. Similarly, in excretory system, let's have a couple of sessions to discuss the most important concepts, the most important exam-oriented concepts from the chapter excretory system. Usually what I think are hard for children of your level to understand. Okay, so like any other session, let us just start off with a positive frame of mind. This is what I have to tell you today. There is no such thing as a success shortcut. Be willing to take the long road, or you will hit a dead end, which is completely true. And I think I have been saying this exact same thing in many different ways to you in a lot of my sessions, right? Because basically, I'm trying to tell you that there is no substitute for hard work. And even if you would agree with me on this, many of you might tend to procrastinate, many of you out of laziness, you may like put off studies and all your preparations and all your school related stuff for the very last minute. But you would still wish that you could score very well for your exams. Yes, wishing, anybody can wish for anything in the world, right? I can wish to be on top of the moon right now in the very next minute, but it can only stay as a wish. If that wish is converted into a deep desire, your mind subconsciously accepts that and it becomes thirsty to achieve it, to achieve success. And even if I tell you all this, it's a very strange thing that on the eve of exams, or at least a week or a couple of weeks before your exams, most of, those shortcut videos on success, how to study overnight and score 100% and all such videos end up becoming a huge hit on YouTube and other such social media and everywhere else that you see, right? But the truth is that it doesn't work. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. A shortcut to success doesn't exist at all. It comes only with constant perseverance, hard work, and a lot of self-motivation. And now like I keep saying, we are still 3 months away from your pre-boards. This is the absolute right time to get started. I would like to hear from all of you saying that the month of November is going to be a great month for me. And if you can tell me I can and I will, right now or right after you watch this session, I will be very, very happy. And I would like to keep hearing that from you very often, every few days, at least once in a week, so that I know that your motivation is on the higher side, because you and I and you and all of us here at Vedantu are together in your journey to success as far as your board exams for class 10 are concerned. So yes, if you completely agree with me, agree with this saying, I want you to hit the like button right now and share all our sessions with all your friends so that all of you can benefit. Sharing is indeed caring. If you really care for everyone, for people around you, if you want the world to be a better place, you have to sincerely hope for the best. You have to work for the best. And one small contribution that you can do right now is by hitting the share button and sharing it with all your friends so that all of them can benefit from it. And in case you have not subscribed to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th, my dear children, do hit the subscribe button right now, because it's already been more than a couple of weeks since we started off and launched the ICSE series. Even if you are not an ICSE student, my dear children, even if you belong to CBSE or some state board of India, whatever it is, do remember that many of our sessions will also be useful for you, because you would find that there are a lot of overlapping topics. Of course, the way of teaching, the way of asking questions might be different for each board, but it is a fact that many overlapping topics do exist, and every teacher's method of teaching is different. So the more you hear about a concept, the better it retains in your memory. So don't care about the fact that this is a hardcore ICSE series. Although we are oriented or focused on ICSE for these set of sessions, I'm sure all of you will benefit from it. But how would you benefit from it? You need to stay tuned and you need to have an idea of the daily schedule. Only then you would know what topic or what session is happening on a particular day. As long as you know that and as long as you understand your syllabus, you will be able to benefit from our sessions accordingly. Okay? And let us get started. Before we start with the excretory system, there is one very, very basic question that I want to ask you. Of course, it's a very simple one, but do have a look. Which of these is or are excretory organs of our body? Now, I haven't given an option like all of the above. In case you think it's all of these, you can put your answer as A, B, C, D. Or in case you think only one of them is an excretory organ in the human body, put that option. Or it can be 2, 3 or 4. Your choice. Yes? Done, children? Well, now let us discuss the answer to this. The fact is that among all of these options, there is only one which is not an excretory organ in the human body. Which of these is not an excretory organ in the human body? If I asked you like that, the answer would be just one option, which is option B. Yes, some of you may be surprised, some of you may be shocked. Your eyes pop out because you're shocked because I'm saying the alimentary canal is not an excretory organ. Then what is it? Well, the truth is that the alimentary canal is only a canal that takes in food, carries out digestion, and sends out the undigested food in the form of fecal matter. But that process is completely different and is called egestion. So the next question arises. Isn't egestion the same as excretion, or at least aren't they related? Well, not really, because excretion is in fact the process by which metabolic waste materials are released or given out by the body. Okay, so metabolic waste in our body, an example for a metabolic waste would be urea, which our kidneys or the urinary system secretes. Through the urine, the chemical substance that's eliminated from our body is urea. Okay, and in some other organs it is ammonia, in some of them it's uric acid, and so on. As far as human beings are concerned, urea is one major excretory product. But apart from urea, there are also certain other metabolic products like carbon dioxide, for instance, like lungs, of course, they give out carbon dioxide as their metabolic waste product. After the process of after the process of respiration occurs. And the skin, it gives out sweat, which is nothing but a mixture of water and certain salts. But then the basic purpose of each is different. Sweat basically works as an excretory product in order to bring down your body temperature. And kidneys, of course, you all know, you've been hearing it from your lower grades, it secretes urine. The chemical substance of which, like I said, is urea. Okay, children? So among these, the organs or the parts of your body which act as excretory organs are your kidneys, lungs, and skin. Remember this, children, because it's a very, very common misconception that the alimentary canal or egestion is the same as excretion. Okay, egestion is completely different. It's not a metabolic waste product that's eliminated during the digestion process. During the process of digestion, it's just the undigested waste food material that forms as feces or fecal matter and is eliminated from your body. Okay, so keep this in mind and let us look at what are the excretory organs. Of course, I have mentioned three of them, the lungs, the skin, and the kidneys, or the urinary system in general. The liver is also supposed to be an excretory organ of the body because a lot of purification and a lot of detoxification processes happen in your liver. Right? So this is why the liver is also supposed to be a very, very crucial organ to the human body. You must have heard of alcoholics who may end up getting hospitalized because of liver-related disorders. That's because too much of alcohol consumption and too much of many other food items can ultimately affects the liver because it is involved in a lot of the detoxification processes, removing a lot of toxins from a lot of substances in your body, and ultimately it gets affected and may die off. Okay, and as far as the lungs are concerned, yes, we have said that carbon dioxide and water in the form of vapor are eliminated as waste products. And as far as the skin is concerned, the waste is water, salt, and small amounts of urea, okay, which get eliminated in the form of sweat. And the kidneys or the urinary tract, the urinary system of your body, which our current chapter is going to be about, eliminates urine chiefly, right? So now that you have understood this, let us have a look at a fun fact which is about the kidneys. Now, how many of you know this? Throughout the day, the kidneys filter and produce around 1000 to 2000 milliliters of urine, which means it's approximately 1 to 2 liters of urine being produced in a single day. So in general, we excrete around 1.5 liters of urine on an average in a single day, which is why it is important to stay hydrated. If you don't drink enough water, if you don't take in enough fluids, roughly for a fully grown human being, for your age also, like as far as the 15-year-old is also concerned, you must be drinking at least an average of 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day. This is in addition to all the other fluids that you take in the form of milk, coffee, tea, or whatever else it is. Just water alone must go into your body approximately or at least 1.5 liters per day, because only then your body would have enough hydration in order to carry out all of these processes very smoothly. Because ultimately, if your kidneys don't function and if your kidneys are unable to produce this much of urine in a day, it results in accumulation of a lot of toxins in your body, because it's only through water that the kidneys can eliminate a lot of your toxic materials. Okay, children? And now, yes, this is exactly why we say that the washroom or the restroom or the loo or the toilet, however you want to call it, is a very, very important part. We have it everywhere around. Like ideally, we should have it in all the public places, because it is an extremely important thing for a human being to be able to urinate frequently during the day. If you try to hold your urine for a very long time, it can result in a lot of complications. Okay, and now this is something that you already know about from your lower grades, the structure of the human urinary system or the human excretory system. Okay, starting with the kidneys, you have a pair of bean-shaped kidneys. Right? We always describe the kidneys as bean-shaped, and they are roughly about 5 inches in length and about 3 inches in width. Okay, the kidneys. And what comes out of the kidneys are the tubes that come out are the ureters, a pair of ureters which open into the urinary bladder, and that opens out through the urethra, and the urethra opens to the exterior through the urethral aperture, which is at the extreme tip. Okay, so it is roughly when your urinary bladder is half filled with urine that it sends signals to your brain, and your brain gets the urge and you get the urge to urinate. Okay, it's when it's half filled, the bladder, not when it's completely filled. Until then, it just keeps forming and accumulating in the urinary bladder, and it doesn't tell you to visit the loo until it's at least half filled. And what are the others? Why is it that I have marked the aorta, the vena cava, the renal vein, and the renal artery here? Well, the renal vein and renal artery, of course, you know from the name, like we learned in the circulatory system, pulmonary. The term pulmonary is always associated with the lungs. Similarly, the term renal, okay, this term is very, very important as far as your kidneys are concerned. Renal has got something to do with your kidneys. So renal vein is basically the vein that drains out blood from your kidneys and joins the inferior vena cava. Okay, so that's what you see here in blue. The renal vein joins the vena cava, right? And the renal artery is the artery in your body which ultimately forms as a branch of the aorta. Remember the aorta, the largest artery in your heart, which branches out further, and ultimately when it reaches near the kidney, it enters it in the form of the renal artery, the artery that supplies oxygenated blood to your kidney, right? It's coming from the aorta, which is why this is also marked in this image. So renal artery, renal vein, very important. Okay, and the rest of the structures I guess you are familiar with from your lower grades. Now let us go a little deeper into understanding slightly more details. Okay, what do you see if you just looked at the kidney alone? Because the ureters, urinary bladder, urethra, and all of those are there as accessory organs to support your kidneys. But the most hard-working organ of your excretory system or your urinary system are your kidneys. So it's very, very important that we know what it looks like, right? So it deserves that much of importance. Roughly, this is what it looks like from, if you take a longitudinal section of the kidney, a section like this, this is what you would see. What are the functions? I said it's one of the most hard-working organs, right? Not just of your excretory system, but in general, in your body, apart from your heart and lungs, this is one of the most vital organs. If there is a kidney failure, it can result in death. Okay, you will understand more of these as we proceed and progress further into the chapter. For now, just understand that the kidneys are involved in blood purification, in waste elimination in the form of urine, and in maintaining the fluid balance of the body. Right? Because if there is some kind of abnormality and the kidney fails to filter whatever comes to it properly, it may end up producing too much or too less urine than what is required. If that happens, the fluid balance in your body is completely messed up. Right? So the kidneys play an extremely important role in all of these major functions. And going further, another fun fact, the kidneys pump around 400 gallons of recycled blood every day. Imagine how much is 400 gallons? Who's going to tell me very quickly? Yes, guys? Yes, I think it's roughly around 15 liters. Imagine, it pumps around 15 liters of recycled blood every day. And after all that filtration of the blood, it forms urine, and about some very small part of it is eliminated and the rest of it is reabsorbed and pumped back into your body. Coming more into the structure of the human kidney. Okay, I put this image now instead of the first one because we are supposed to focus a little more on these details. You would see that in a longitudinal section of a human kidney, there is an external layer or an external part which is called the cortex. This part is called, all of this part, okay, this outer part is called the cortex. Just inner to the cortex is the portion which we call medulla. Okay, these designs, these beautiful designs that you see, well, when I look at it, it reminds me of some of the Kalamkari prints, where girls out there would understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, fascinating to see beautiful designs. Maybe not exactly like this in reality, but it looks very nice and beautiful to see images like this. So the outer cortex, the inner medulla, yes, and you have the renal artery, as I said, which brings in oxygenated blood from the aorta into the kidney, the renal vein which drains out deoxygenated blood from the kidney and joins the inferior vena cava. And this part, this inner part, this entire part, okay, this part is known as the renal pelvis. And yes, that opens or joins into the tube called the ureter, which we have seen in the overall image of the excretory system. Right, children? So we have the kidney with the outer cortex, the inner medulla, and we have a structure called, not the structure, we have a portion called the renal pelvis, and the kidneys are supplied with renal arteries and renal veins. And of course, they join out into or drain out into the ureters. Okay, now if you closely observe, medulla are arranged beautifully in the form of pyramid shaped structures, triangular structures, and hence we also call them pyramids. Medullary pyramids is how these structures are called. Okay, now if you have understood these structures, it also makes sense to go even further into it, at least in the case of blood, right? Blood is a very important fluid connective tissue of your body, and we went into the blood and looked at what forms it, the formed elements and the liquid portion of the blood, the plasma, the RBCs, the WBCs, the platelets, all of these things, right? Just like that, the kidney has very, very fine structures even inside it, which we are going to look at now. If you were to zoom in to one small portion here, right here, this is an entire kidney, one small part of the kidney to be zoomed in, you would see a structure like this. Okay? And in this particular structure, the blue and red shaped structure together is supposed to be the finest functional unit of a kidney. And it's got a name. It is called the nephron. So nephrons are basically the functional units of your kidney. So how many nephrons do you think your kidneys have? Both your kidneys together are said to have millions and millions of nephrons in them. And it is in these tiny nephrons that urine formation happens. Can you imagine such a small structure and all the filtration happens in it, and ultimately the urine that you pass out, to imagine that it was formed in a structure like this is absolutely amazing, right? Well, those are gifts of nature, as I would call it. Now, if you were to zoom into one single nephron, this is what you would see it to be like, okay? For the time being, do not focus on the labels that I have out there, but roughly this is how one single nephron would look like. Okay, children? So this is a kidney. Remember where we are. You need to have a sense of what we are talking about. We are talking about the human physiology. In the human body, we are talking about a system which is called the urinary system or the excretory system. And we have spoken about the kidneys. We have a pair of kidneys. We spoke about what one single kidney looks like. And now we are going deeper into one single kidney. If you focused on one small part of the kidney, you would see a portion like this. And in that, if you were to pull out or take out one single functional unit called the nephron, this is what that structure would look like. So now that I have said the nephrons are so much of, or such a VIP, or such an important part in your body, very important part. I can't say it's a very important person, right? So nephrons are still the VIPs in today's session. So they deserve some attention as well, right? That is what we are going to be looking at next. The structure of the neuron, an individual neuron, one single neuron. Okay? This is one among the millions of neurons that your kidneys have. So if you observe it closely, you would see that there is a structure which is called the Bowman's capsule. Okay, this structure, roughly, if I were to open it out, this is what it would look like. Okay, the Bowman's capsule. And what do you have inside the Bowman's capsule? There is a tuft of blood capillaries in the Bowman's capsule, which is called the glomerulus. Okay, basically a capillary network. That is called the glomerulus. Okay, and in fact, the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus together form a structure which is called the Malpighian capsule. Okay, the Bowman's capsule along with the tuft of blood capillary is called the glomerulus. Okay, B plus G, Bowman's capsule plus the glomerulus together forming the Malpighian capsule. Okay, and then going further ahead, we have started off here. The Bowman's capsule opens out into the next part of the tube, which is called the proximal convoluted tubule. Why is it called convoluted? Because of how convoluted or how twisted or how many turns it's arranged into. And proximal because it's at the anterior part or at the front part. And the other part, the hind end or the distant end of it would be called the distal convoluted tubule. So as long as biology is concerned, these two terms are very important. Proximal and distal. Two very important technical adjectives, I must say. Okay, proximal because anterior, distal, posterior or distant. Okay, so the Bowman's capsule opens out into the proximal convoluted tubule, which further opens out into a U-shaped structure that you can see here, and that is called the loop of Henle. Some people also like to call it the Henle's loop, Henle apostrophe S loop. Okay, and here again all these red structures that you see are the blood supply, the capillary network. And then the Henle's loop leads to the distal convoluted tubule, the posterior end, like I said. Okay, so this is abbreviated as PCT and the distal convoluted tubule is abbreviated as DCT. Okay, and that further leads into something called the collecting duct, where the urine formed in all these parts gets collected, and that opens out eventually into the kidneys and then the urethra. Okay, so you also need to have an idea of the larger picture, because right now we are in the ultimate zoomed in portion of the kidneys, which is one single nephron. Okay, so we have seen the structure called the Bowman's capsule with the tuft of capillaries called the glomerulus opening into the PCT, and then the loop of Henle, the DCT, and finally the collecting duct. Okay, there is something else that I have not mentioned or we've not spoken about, the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole. Remember, we spoke about arterioles and venules in the chapter Circulatory System. Arterioles are smaller or finer branches that come from an artery. Okay, so what happens is afferent arterioles in fact are fine branches of the renal artery. The renal artery brings in blood from the aorta and branches out or breaks up into the afferent arterioles, which are wider than the efferent arterioles, and they join together to form this tuft called glomerulus. And the glomerulus, after all the filtration, breaks down out of the kidney to form the efferent arteriole. Okay, afferent comes in, efferent goes out. Okay, A comes before E. So remember that. Afferent comes in, efferent goes out. Okay, efferent arteriole, as I said, is narrower than this. And what does it do? It goes and empties its blood into a lot of the veins, which eventually join the renal vein, and then that enters the inferior vena cava. Okay, children, so this entirely is the blood supply as far as your nephron is concerned. So what is the nephron? The basic question. It is the basic functional unit of your kidneys. What do I mean by that? The finest unit of your kidney, which can function most importantly, is what the nephron is. Like we say, the cells are the basic structural and functional units of life. Similarly, the basic units of the kidney are your nephrons, and millions of them together form the 1.5 liters of urine that we were talking about at the start of this session. Okay, children, so now that you have understood the gist of how one single nephron looks, or what it looks like, let us again look back at the bigger picture. Where do you, as far as the kidney is concerned, or the position of nephron in the kidney is concerned, what do things look like? Now, if you really or carefully observe it, you would see that the Bowman's capsule right here, okay, is slightly inner to the cortex. And then remember, the Bowman's capsule leads into the proximal convoluted tubule, the PCT. The PCT, in fact, goes into the cortex. It extends up like that and enters the cortex. And that further becomes the loop of Henle, which comes further into the kidney, into the medullary region, and then goes back and joins the cortex again. Okay? And so basically, the loop of Henle, if you think of it, is a U-shaped structure, right? You can call these two to be the limbs of the loop of Henle. This part of the loop of Henle that goes down, okay, goes down into the kidney is called the descending limb. The descending limb of the Henle's loop. And it comes in and then takes a turn and takes a steep turn up and the part of it which goes up is called the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Okay, so the descending limb and ascending limb together form the loop of Henle, the U-shaped loop of Henle. So the ascending limb finally joins back in the cortex. This is where it all started. PCT in the cortex, loop of Henle came down, and the ascending limb of the loop of Henle went up and joined back in the cortex. And then that opens into the DCT in the cortex itself, and finally into the collecting tubule. And eventually the collecting duct comes and joins a tube to reach the renal pelvis, or the pelvis of the kidney. And of course, that is where the drained out urine from all of these nephrons in a single kidney comes, and they enter into the ureter. Okay, children, so it's very important to have this larger picture also, rather than just mugging up what one single nephron looks like. One single nephron you need to understand first, but as far as a zoomed out version of the kidney is concerned, where in the kidney do these parts lie? That is equally important. Okay, so this is roughly what the structure, the internal structure of the human kidney is. So assuming that you have understood the nephron, let us look at another fun fact. If the nephrons in both the kidneys are taken out and placed end to end horizontally, they would cover a distance of approximately 16 kilometers. Wow, that is so much. Well, I can't imagine. This is like 3 times if I had to travel from my house here in Bangalore to the Vedantu office, back home, and then again back. So 3 times that would be approximately this distance. Imagine how long that is. Remember, we talked about something similar when we spoke about the chromatin, how well packed the chromatin, your DNA is, right? That was also an amazing analogy, right? That to imagine that something so long, so large is packed so compactly inside your body. Wow. Again, I'm talking about all the millions of nephrons in both the kidneys arranged end to end, stretched out. Now, this is just a convoluted or twisted structure that you see here. Imagine it stretched out and you will get a distance of around 16 kilometers. Okay, so let us have a quiz time now and see how much of today's session you have understood. This will be very short, not more than 3 questions. But very important. The U-shaped portion of the nephron is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is the loop of Henle. And I told you it has a descending limb and an ascending limb. Okay? Imagine it's just like the alphabet U, and you will remember it. The inner part of the kidney is called, again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. The answer is the medulla. We said it's the outer cortex and the inner medulla. Okay. The next one. The knot of blood vessels inside the Bowman's capsule is called, yes again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go. The answer is as simple as B, glomerulus. Okay, so if you have answered all of these 3 right, it means that you have understood a good majority, at least a good chunk of what we have discussed in today's session. And if that is the case, I also want you to work on a homework question. Why does frequent urination occur in the winter season than in the summer season? Well, if you did not know this is the case, understand that this is a fact. And if it is a fact, why is it so? Think about it, do whatever research you want, and let me know what the answer is. And yes, the kidney is telling you that I'm happy. You now know more about me. So thank you very much, children, for joining me in today's session. Do remember to download Vedantu's learning app Stay in touch with us through the Telegram group, the link of which is given below this video. And most importantly, as I keep telling you, do remember to hit the like button right now. If you have enjoyed this session, share it with all of your friends so that everyone can benefit from it. Just watch it once and it will register in your mind so that your studies become much easier, your revisions become much quicker. And if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, do remember to subscribe now to Vedantu 9th and 10th, because a lot of amazing sessions are in wait, in store for you in the weeks to come. And in the meantime, if you would like any help from my side that you do not want to put in the comment section here, do remember to send me an email at ambika.gopalakrishnan@vedantu.com. Okay, and until we meet again in a fresh new week with a lot more fresh ideas, I want all of you to come back and join me with full josh, full motivation again next week. Until we meet again, happy studying, and this is Ambika signing off. Bye bye.